welcome to part 3 of my crochet along for my mandala, my Pinkbell and Bluebell mandala. So we're looking to make this large mandala here. So if you're new to this tutorial and you want to catch up, then do check out parts 1 and parts 2, and I'll put the links in the description below. I must remember to do that, so do remind me. And so if you're joining me and you're following along so far, you should have something that looks like this. So we're going to crack on straight to the next round, which is round 12, I do believe. So we should have finished up with doing these little sort of triangle shapes around the edge here. So what we're going to do first though is we're going to rejoin our white yarn. So I've actually skipped ahead slightly here, I do apologise. So we finished up with our pink, then I've just brought up the white and I'm going to hook that through a loop on our hook, and now we're working with the white. Okay, so put the blue one to the side, and the first thing we're going to do is we're going to do one treble crochet in the 7 chain space down here. So we're going to wrap the yarn around our hook twice, and we're going to put our hook into this huge gap where we worked our last stitches, so this 7 chain space again. Put our hook into there, bring the yarn, just wrapping it around, and then do a treble. So we pull through 2, pull through 2, pull through 2. So hopefully you're used to doing trebles. We're just going to move that over so it sits at the edge like that. So in UK terminology, that's going to be a double treble. But then what we're going to do is we are going to do 5 double crochet in the in the 2 chain space. So there's 2 chain space in the middle here that we did. We're going to yarn over and put our hook into there, and we're going to do 5 double crochet. Okay, so in UK terminology that's a treble. So it's 1, 2, 3, so we're just wrapping it around the 2 chains, 4, and one more, 5. Okay, so we do 5 double crochet in the 2 chain space. Then what we're going to do is we're going to treble crochet 2 together. So we're not really treble crocheting 2 stitches together, but more like 2 7 chain spaces together. But don't panic, what we're going to do is we're just going to yarn over twice as if we're doing a normal treble, and we're going to put our hook into the 7 chain space, the same one that you did with this one. So in this same gap again, we're going to bring the yarn round, and then we're going to pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, but we're going to stop there and leave 2 stitches on our hook. Going to wrap the yarn around our hook again twice as if doing another treble. We're going to go into the next 7 chain space, okay, and then bringing that through the next 7 chain space, I'm going to pull through 2 and pull through 2, but then what we're going to do is we're going to pull through all 3. So pull through all 3. Okay, and that treble crochets 2 stitches together, but instead of stitches we're treble crocheting 2 7 chain spaces together really. So they sits like that. So in UK terminology these are double trebles, okay? And then we're just going to repeat that to the end. So we're going to do 5 double crochet in the 2 chain space. So in the middle, do 5 double crochet. 1, 2, 3, 4, and one more, 5. Okay, so 5 double crochet, sit in there. Then we're going to do the same thing again. We're going to double crochet 2 7 chain spaces together. So we wrap the yarn around our hook twice. We go into the same 7 chain space that we've just been working in. Go back into there. Bring the yarn, wrapping it around all the stitches. We're going to yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, but we're going to stop before we do the last yarn over. We're going to wrap the yarn around our hook twice again and go into the next 7 chain space. Bring the yarn through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, but when you've got 3 loops left, we yarn over, pull through all 3. Okay, and we've got another treble crochet together. And just repeat that round. So find your 2 chain space and go straight in there and do 5 double crochet, 2, 3, 4, oh that was a bad one, 4 and one more, 5, and then we do our treble crochet 2 7 chain spaces together. So yarn over twice, go into the same 7 chain space first, bring the yarn through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, stop, wrap the yarn around your hook twice again as if ready for your next treble, go into the next 7 chain space and just wrapping it around the stitches, pull through 2, pull through 2, but when you've got 3 loops, pull through all 3. Okay, then you can just neaten it off if you need to so it sits in the middle. Okay, so it should look like that. We're going to repeat that all the way to the end, and then I'm going to join you again when we get to the end to show you what to do at the very end. Okay, so 5 double crochet in your 2 chain space. Okay, so just coming up to the end, the very last 5 double crochet. 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, and then what we're going to do, we're going to do something a bit weird at the end. So 5 double crochet, because we've been treble crocheting sort of 2 spaces together, we can't just work, we're sort of going to work, and I'll just show you. We're going to wrap the yarn around our hook twice, we're going to put it into the 7 chain space, this last 7 chain space, bring the yarn through, and we're going to yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, but then what we're going to do just before we finish is we're going to put our hook into this first treble that we did. So just put your hook into there and bring the yarn through there, but then bring it through the last 2 stitches on your hook as well to do a slip stitch, and that effectively kind of treble crochets them together. So anyway, there we go. Hopefully you've got something that looks like that. And now we're going to move on to round 13. I'm going to bring back my darkest pink now. We're going to move on to this little round here where we've got this dark sort of slip stitch pattern going around, which is actually my favourite part of the mandala. So we're just going to bring up that we're working with, bring that through the loop on our hook. I'm just going to pull the white down, and now we're working, making sure that's flat. Now I'm working with my darkest pink. I'm going to slip stitch into the next gap. So we're going to be looking at these sort of gaps that appear, like this one here, this one here, this one here, so on and so forth. So we're going to find this first gap just to the left of our treble, and we're going to put our hook into there, this big gap here, and just bring the yarn through, and we're going to do a slip stitch and try and keep it nice and loose, so don't make sure it's not pulling too tight, so nice and loose. Then we're going to slip stitch in the next gap, so find this gap in the middle of these 2 little pink groups, and that big gap there, put your hook into there, and we're going to slip stitch into there. Okay, then we're going to slip stitch in the stitch above, but in the front loop only. So where these got these 5 double crochets, we're going to find the one in the middle, so find the double crochet in the middle, and we're going to just put our hook through the front loop only. So instead of going through 2 loops like you would normally in a stitch, we're just going to go for the front loop, and we're going to slip stitch into there. So bring the yarn through the front loop and straight for the loop on your hook. Okay, and then we're going to slip stitch in the gap below again as well. So go back to the same gap in the middle of these pink bits in there, and then bring the yarn through, and we're just going to slip stitch in there as well. Okay, so you end up with this kind of little picot thing going on. And then we're going to slip stitch in the next gap. So find this gap that's to the right of this treble in there, and we're going to slip stitch into there. Okay, so hopefully it looks like that. I'll show you again anyway, but what we're going to do now is we're going to find the gap in between our 2 trebles, and we're going to slip stitch in the single crochet from round 10, or the gap above. So if you can find this pink bit in between your trebles and find this gap, it's going to be one of these stitches here. See that there? We're going to put our hook into there rather than the gap above. So into there, I'm going to grab our yarn, and then we're going to slip stitch into there, and then we just slip stitch in the next gap to the left of our next treble. So go into there and slip stitch into there, and that just creates a little dimple in our slip stitches creating a bit more of a pattern. And we're just going to repeat that all the way around. So find when you get to your 2 pink bits, we're going to slip stitch into there, into that gap. Then find the double crochet, the middle double crochet from these 5 at the top, so this middle one here, and then find the front loop only of the stitch above, so not both loops, just the front loop, slip stitch into there, and then slip stitch in the gap below again, so the same one between those 2 pink bits. Okay, so you're slip stitching twice in there. Once, then slip stitch at the top and then back down again. Slip stitch in the next gap to the right of that treble. Then find your 2 trebles, but instead of slip stitching into the gap, we're going to find the stitch below, this pink stitch here, and we're going to slip stitch to there instead. And then we slip stitch in the next gap and repeat the whole thing. Okay. So in the next gap, slip stitch in there, find the middle stitch above and slip stitch into that front loop, slip stitch into this gap again, slip stitch in the next gap to the right of the trebles, slip stitch in between the trebles but in the stitch below, slip stitch in the next gap, and repeat. So into the next gap, slip stitch in the stitch above, front loop only, stitch below in the same gap, keeping those stitches loose, slip stitch in the next gap to the right of the trebles, slip stitch between the trebles but in the stitch below, the pink one, for using pink, slip stitch in the next gap, and repeat. Okay, so just repeat this all the way around back to the beginning, and then you'll have your really nice little slip stitch round. Just adds a little bit of texture, a bit of design. That's actually my favourite round. Okay, so I shall do that and then I shall come back. Okay, so when you're back at the beginning, we just find our last gap. So I've just done a little picot at the top. I'm going to find the next gap. Then we're back at the beginning. What we're going to do first though, got these 2 trebles here. This one seems to have moved over a bit. Again, find the stitch, find in between the 2 trebles and the stitch below, and we're going to slip stitch into there without pulling the white through for some reason. Let's try that again. There we go. And then we're going to slip stitch in our first slip stitch that we made up here. Okay, so hopefully it looks something like this, going all the way around these little picots, and then we're going to move on to round 14. Okay, so then what we're going to do though is we're going to change to the same pink as these petals that we did here, so that's going to be our 3rd lightest pink. So this one here, I'm going to find that at the back, so it's going to be this one. I'm going to bring that up and through the loop on our hook, and then pull the dark pink down, and now we're working with this pink. Okay, and if you want to, you can just neaten that off so it levels off a bit better. Then what we're going to do, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to do 1 single crochet in the first stitch. So first stitch is actually really hidden. It's going to be this treble, it's going to be really hidden. So if you find there's pink picot here and you've got 1 stitch there, you've got 1 stitch there, but you find the one that's tucked under, we're going to go into that one. So get this pink out of the way, find that very first stitch, put your hook into there, and we're going to do a single crochet. So in UK terminology that's a double crochet, and then we're going to do 1 double crochet in the next 2 stitches. So the next stitch we do a double crochet. In UK terminology that's a treble, and we're going to do 1 double crochet in the next stitch as well. Okay, and then the next stitch should be the one that we worked into the front loop, if you remember. So in there we're going to do 3 treble crochet to begin. So we're going to wrap the yarn around our hook twice. We're going to go into this stitch, we're going to go into the front loop as well as the back loop. So you may need to work this a little bit because the other stitch is going to be in the way, but you should be able to go into there, bring the yarn through, and we're going to do a treble. Okay, and we're going to do 3 of those. We'll do that again, go back into the same stitch, should be a bit easier to find this time. Do a treble. So in UK terminology that's a double treble. I'm going to do another one, so we want 3 of them. Okay, so this is in the stitch where we worked into the front loop. Okay, and it's going to sit one side or the other, so it's entirely up to you how you want to work it. You may want to do the first treble to the right of it, and then one in the middle, and then one to the left, but it sort of looks okay once you go along. But then what we're going to do is we're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and then after you chain 3 we're going to slip stitch in the top of this treble we last did. So find the stitch, the top of this treble, bring your hook round and put your hook into there, keeping the yarn over the top, bring it through the stitch and straight through the loop on your hook to do a slip stitch. That creates a little 3 chain picot at the top, and then we're going to do 2 treble crochet in the same stitch. Okay, so go back into the same stitch and do another 2 treble crochet. So that's 1, and back in there again, let's do another treble. So you end up with 5 trebles in this same stitch. Okay, so you've got 5 in there in total, with this little weird picot at the top. Then what we're going to do is we're going to do 1 double crochet in the next stitch. So a double crochet in the next stitch, and a double crochet in the next stitch. Okay, and then we just repeat the pattern. So your last stitch should come just before these 2 trebles. Okay, if they don't, then you may have missed that very first stitch hidden in there. So we're going to repeat that all the way around. So in the next stitch, the top of these 2 trebles together, we do a single crochet. So that's a double crochet in UK terminology. Then we do 1 double crochet in the next 2. That's a treble in UK terminology. So 1 double crochet in the next stitch and 1 double crochet in the next stitch. And then we're at the same stitch where we worked into the front loop only. And in there we're going to do 3 trebles, or double trebles in UK terminology. You may have to just pick up that second loop because that stitch will be in the way a bit. Do a treble in there, 1 and another one. Two, then another one. 3, so we got 3 trebles, then we chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and we're going to slip stitch in the top of this treble. So bring your hook round, put your hook into the top stitch of this last treble, keep that yarn down, grab it, bring it through the stitch and straight for the loop on your hook to do a slip stitch. Creates a little picot. Then we do 2 more trebles in the same stitch. Another treble and another treble. Okay, so you end up with 5 in total. Then we finish up with 1 double crochet in the next 2. So double crochet in the next stitch and a double crochet in the next stitch. Okay, so it looks like this. So we're going to repeat that all the way around back to the beginning. So next stitch, single crochet, which should be above those 2 trebles, then 1 double crochet in the next 2 stitches. So double crochet in there, double crochet in there, then we do 3 trebles in the next stitch where that front loop's been worked, but we're going under both loops as neatly as you can. Do 3 trebles, is so hot. It's such a hot day. That's why it's squeaking a bit, because my hands are clammy. Nice. Anyway, after you've done your 3 trebles, we chain 3. 1, 2, 3. We slip stitch in the stitch above that 3rd treble. Okay. 2 more treble crochets in the same stitch. Okay, so you end up with 5 trebles in total in that same stitch. Then 1 double crochet in the next 2, and then just repeat that all the way to the end. Okay, so I'm going to do that and I shall come back. Okay, so back at the beginning, that actually took quite a while to do, so these rounds are going to slowly start to take longer, but we're just finishing up with, I've just done my 5 trebles with the picot in between. I'm doing a double crochet in the next stitch and a double crochet in the next stitch. Okay, and it looks like there's one more stitch there. We're actually going to leave that. I'm just wondering if I can bring that in a bit. There's the white. No. Then we're just going to slip stitch into the first single crochet after you've done that second double crochet. So find that first single crochet and we're just going to slip stitch into there. There we go. So that's the end of round 14, I think it was, and hopefully it looks something like that. So start to put the camera over the top. Okay, so we're going to move on to round 15 now, and what we're going to do is we're going to rejoin this nice dark pink again. So I'm going to find my dark pink, just bring that through the loop on our hook, pull down the other pink, and now we're working with our dark pink. Okay, and what we're going to do first is we're just going to slip stitch into the next stitch. Okay, so this double crochet, I'm going to slip stitch into there, and then what we're going to do is we're going to chain 5. Chain 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But then what we're going to do is we're going to find the 3 chain space, the previous 3 chain space, this one on the right hand side. We're just going to grab that and bring in our work to the front. We're going to put our hook through the 3 chain space. So just put it through as neatly as you can, and it might be an idea to actually get the yarn that side. So if we just bring that over, then put our hook through, grab the yarn, bring it through the 3 chain space, and straight for the loop on your hook to do a slip stitch. Okay, so it's the only time we're going to do that. It's just to join this beginning of the round. Okay, so we're going to, because we're working on this round now, this dark blue one here, and so what we're going to do next after you've done that, so we just chain 5 and slip stitch in the previous 3 chain space. Then we're going to do 1 treble crochet in the next stitch. So yarn over twice, go into the next stitch, do a treble, so that's a double treble in UK terminology, and we're going to do a treble in the next stitch as well. Treble in there as well. Then we're going to do a double crochet in the next stitch, so 1 double crochet, it's a treble in UK terminology, and then we're going to do a half double crochet in the last stitch before this little picot. Half double crochet, so that's a half treble in UK terminology. Okay, then we're going to slip stitch in the next 3 chain space. So find this next 3 chain space and just put your hook through the middle as neatly as you can and do a slip stitch. Okay, and then what we're going to do is we're going to chain 3, chain 1, 2, 3, and we're going to slip stitch in the same 3 chain space. So go back in there again and do another slip stitch. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we're going to mirror this in reverse. Okay, so we're going to mirror it. So find the next stitch and in there we do a half double crochet or half treble. Okay, then we're going to do a double crochet in the next stitch, or treble in UK terminology. Then we're going to do one treble crochet in the last two, so that's a double treble in UK terminology. Two, pull through two, so we pull through two 3 times, yarn over twice, so that's in the next stitch and in the next stitch. Okay, so that mirrors this side. Okay, but then what we're going to do is we're going to do a double treble in the next stitch. So this one in the center, we're going to do a double treble. So in UK terminology it's going to be a triple treble. So we yarn over 3 times. So we have done these before somewhere in this pattern. I think it was down here somewhere. Yarn over 3 times and go into the next stitch. And like I say, it's the same as the treble. You just pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. You just do it 4 times instead of 3. Okay, so you've got a double treble. And then we slip stitch in the next 3 chain space. So find this 3 chain space and slip stitch in there. Okay, and then what we're going to do is we are going to chain 3, do this little picot like we did here. So we chain 3 and slip stitch in the same 3 chain space. So go back in there again and do a slip stitch, so you get this little picot at the top. Okay, so that's a set of stitches we've got to do, and we're just going to repeat that. We're just going to repeat that all the way around, but this one's slightly different because we had to chain at the beginning there to get up to the top. But this time what we're going to do is we're going to skip 5 stitches. So we're going to skip 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Then in this next stitch, skip 5, next stitch we do a double treble or triple treble in UK terminology. So we yarn over 3 times, go into that stitch, 6th one along, and you just pull through 2 till you get to the end. Pull through 2, pull through 2, 2 and 2. So you do it 4 times. Okay, so that's the equivalent of these chains at the beginning, and then we repeat the pattern. So we do a normal treble, yarn over just twice in the next stitch. So we just pull through 2 3 times, and then a treble in the next stitch. Then we do, what do we do? I've forgotten. Double crochet. We're doing double crochet in the next stitch. And then we do a half double crochet in the last stitch before the picot. Okay, half double crochet, and then we just slip stitch in the 3 chain space, slip stitch in there, do our little picot, we chain 3, slip stitch in there again. Okay, and then we do that in reverse. So the next stitch is a half double crochet, next stitch is a double crochet, then we do a treble, pull through 2 3 times, a treble in the next stitch, pull through 2 3 times, then we do a double treble in the next stitch, so yarn over 3 times, and it's the one in the middle, go in there and do a double treble, pull through 2 4 times. Okay, then that sits against this edge, we slip stitch in the 3 chain space. Do your picot, don't forget your picot. 1 2 3, slip stitch in there again. Okay, so that's our next one done. So we just repeat these steps all the way around. So the first thing to do is be careful not to go into a half double crochet. Do check what direction these are in. So if you've just done a double treble, you need to do another double treble. Okay, so double trebles together, half double crochets sit together. So don't go into a half double crochet, otherwise you'll end up with a mismatched pattern. So I've just done a double treble, so I do a double treble again. And find, we skip 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, find this next stitch, do the double treble, then we do a treble, so yarn over just twice, another treble in the next stitch, then we do a double crochet, half double crochet, and then we're back at our picot, so we slip stitch in our picot, then I'll do another picot on top, chain 3, slip stitch in there again. Okay, so the last stitch we did was a half double crochet, so we start with a half double crochet, so that's the easiest way to remember what to do next. Half double crochet. So even designing this I got boggled. Double crochet, treble. My battery's about to die, so I may have to change the battery. Treble, another treble in the next stitch. Then we do a double treble, so it's 3 times in the next stitch, sits in the middle. Okay, then we find our next 3 chain space and we slip stitch into there. Do your picot on top, chain 3, slip stitch in there again, and then we're working on next one, and the last stitch we did was a double treble, so we start with a double treble 3 times, skip 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in that next stitch. Okay, so just repeat that all the way around, and then I'll come back and show you what it looks like. Okay, treble in the next. Okay, so just coming up the end, just finishing on a double treble, and I'm going to slip stitch into this first 3 chain picot that we did. Well, not did, but we slip stitch into the first one we did. Slip stitch into there. We're going to finish up with just one little picot, so we're going to chain 3, 2, 3, and we're going to slip stitch in there again. Okay, so there we go, that's the end of that round, and hopefully it looks a little something like this. And I'm going to have to stop there, I'm afraid, because it's getting really hot and I can't crochet anymore. So join me in the last video where I'll just finish up with the last 4 rounds, and we've got 4 more rounds to finish to get it like this. So join me in part 4 and we'll finish up our mandala. Until then, see you soon for some more crochet fun. And don't forget to join me on Instagram. Bye.